Welcome to week 13, meetings, conventions, and expositions. When we think about this particular topic, I like to think about how COVID has really impacted this particular part of our industry. Thinking about what has happened to meetings, conventions, and expositions. So first off, question for you to think of. Have you ever been to a meeting, convention, or exposition, or what is it? I think about conventions, I think about Comic-Con, right? I think about those really large conventions where there's maybe booths and things like that. But it could mean a variety of things. And the first thing to think about is really, why do people meet? It might be business related through annual meetings, board, committee, seminars, workshops, professional and technical meetings. There could be corporate meetings, conventions, and expositions. This is a term SMERF, S-M-E-R-F, which stands for Social, Military, Educational, Religious, and Fraternal Groups, and incentive meetings. Now, another question for you to think about. Of all of these, which group do you think would have the most money to spend? Oftentimes, corporate meetings and incentives are really paid for by companies. Individuals don't need to pay themselves to be able to go, so they tend to have a little bit more money to spend. Whereas if you're going, for example, a social event, you're paying for it out of pocket probably, especially if you're putting it on. Like thinking about social events, and we'll spend actually a whole week on it next week. The biggest social event, could argue, could be a wedding. Another area is associations, right? And you can put any letters together and it'll stand for an association of some type. Now, when you belong to an association, you likely have to pay a membership fee, and some of those fees will go towards the planning of a particular meeting, for example. But it's not uncommon, if you want to attend the year's conference for a particular association, you're paying a fee to attend. Now, in thinking about these types of meetings, I do have information, and there's also information in the book to be able to really understand the different types of meetings between a clinic, a forum, a seminar, a symposium, or a workshop. What it comes down to when you're thinking about this is, what is the expected outcome, and what is the agenda? What are you hoping to accomplish? In thinking about some of the different job opportunities, there are some key players that impact this particular part of our industry. CVB, which stands for the Convention and Visitors Bureau, our particular Convention and Visitors Bureau in San Francisco is called SF Travel. There's also a Peninsula version, as well as meeting planners. Now, meeting planners can work for the particular company or association. Meeting planners can work at the venue, and there are meeting planning companies, and all they do is take on clients to be able to plan their meetings and special events. Convention centers, right? There's a convention center in South San Francisco. There's also the convention center in San Francisco, which is called Moscone. And then specialized services like DMCs, destination management companies, that really help facilitate some of the movement in larger conventions. In thinking about venues, certainly we have spoken about hotels earlier in this semester. So that's certainly one venue that has some meeting space, but there are also some maybe untraditional meeting spaces that you haven't thought of as well, in terms of, being able to hold things in movie theaters or colleges and universities. So I hope you enjoy this particular week's subject matter. I also want you to think about how the impact of things going virtual has really impacted the meetings and special events industry. If people are meeting virtual, they're not going to a convention center. So what happens to all of the people that work at the convention center? How do we pivot in this particular side of our industry to make sure that we're having meaningful careers and opportunities? So as you read through these materials, watch the videos, I want you to be thinking about those kinds of topics. And there will be an opportunity for you to plan your own symposium, which I think is a really fun exercise once you get through all of the different content. And I'll just flip to it really quickly so that you can see the instructions. So you're going to select a topic, who you would invite to be on the panel, and who would be your moderator. What venue would you select and why? Who would you ask to sponsor the event? What would be included in your marketing plan? I want to spend a little bit of time on the marketing plan because sometimes when we think about conventions, we think, well, of course people are going to want to come, right? When you think about company-sponsored things, they're probably directing their workers to come. But in this particular instance, on planning your symposium, your job is to market your symposium so that people will purchase tickets and attend. And so, how do you do that? How do you market it so that it's a success? Because ultimately, the sale price for the tickets, or maybe your symposium is actually going to be sponsored by someone, and it's going to be free to anyone to be able to attend. But let's say that you were planning a symposium in a particular venue, you have to pay for the cost of the venue. And how are you going to do that? By selling the tickets. So the marketing plan can be essential. So I hope you enjoy this particular assignment and this particular week's topics so that you can continue your exploration on thinking about if this part of hospitality is the career path that you want to spend some time in. Thank you so much and have a great week ahead.